Hello everybody and welcome back to Robert's Reviews. It is a Thursday, which means we're doing Steve Carell. Which doesn't mean we're doing Steve Carell for very long because we have this video and next Thursday and that's it. That's it. That's literally all, that's everything. That's everything. That's every single Steve Carell movie ever made. And then I'll be releasing a video in the next couple weeks about the Steve Carell movies and what I think about every single one of them, ranking them. So if you guys love Steve Carell, make sure you guys are checking that out. Next week is our last Steve Carell movie. That's insane. And then we're going to start Quentin Tarantino. So make sure you guys are looking forward to that, because I know I am. I love Quentin Tarantino. So make sure you guys are subscribing and following along. And it's a huge help if you guys like the video, subscribe, comment. Please consider doing that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start talking about Welcome to Marwen. Welcome to Marwen was released in 2018. It was written by Caroline Thompson and Robert Zemeckis and directed by Robert Zemeckis. I generally like Robert Zemeckis films mainly because they're really good at using CGI. And this is really not that different in terms of CGI. No spoilers for this movie ahead. None. Because I don't do spoilers. Because I'm in charge. But yes. Sorry, it's a Steve Rogers quote from Chris Evans. But anyway, a brief synopsis. Essentially what happens is there's a photographer. Well, he used to draw and paint and do all this really awesome art. And then he gets beaten up by these pseudo-Nazis because he wears women's shoes, because he's fascinated with women's essence, which is kind of weird, not gonna lie. He gets beaten up by them, and then he has to use these dolls and take pictures to show his story now because he can't draw anymore because his hand's all shaky. And he has no memory of his past life, so that kind of sucked. Let's dive into this film a little bit. There's a lot that I want to talk about because it really isn't that great. I think that there are some performances that were really good, and I think that the general story idea is really great. And it's based on a true story, too, so that helps a lot, of course. But there's a lot of issues embedded in said story, such as we didn't really talk about the fact that he lost his memory very often. A couple times in the movie, they're like, oh yeah, and he doesn't remember any of this. And it's like, I feel like that would be a bigger thing, right? Like, if I lost all my memories, what? Like, I'd look at this and I'd be like, what is Robert's Reviews? And like, it's crazy. And he goes to his like scrapbook and he's like, I guess I was married? And it's like, you'd think you would talk to people, right? You'd be like, hey, was I married? And like, they'd be like, yeah or no. And it's these weird things that he just like didn't do. He's like, yeah, I'm moving on. Don't really know what I did before, but this is my new life. And it's like, what if you have a daughter or something you don't know about? Like, you ask people. It's weird. I don't know why they didn't focus on that, at least a little bit. But the focus here was really on him and Nicole. And Nicole moves across the street, and he's getting to know her and starting to love her. But she doesn't really love him back in that way. So it's also a dramatic relationship. But, more importantly, what happens in Marwen? Marwen is this little town that Steve Carell character Mark Hogenkamp built. He built it. And it's this miniature town for his dolls. And it's like life-size to a doll. And we see a lot of sequences in the film that focus on the dolls, and the dolls come to life using CGI and stuff. I'm assuming it was motion tracked by the real actors, because it kind of felt like it. And voiced by all the real actors. And every single person that was that is a doll is also represented by somebody in the real world. So, like, Mark Hogenkamp, his real-life doll is Hoagie, and he is a soldier, and he's trying to kill Nazis, and he keeps getting whipped and abused by Nazis because that's what happened to him in real life. And he uses Marwen to kind of show what's happening in his life and using his dolls in terms of a war, which is a really cool idea, but it kind of fell flat because they didn't show it very often. Most of the time, all these sequences made no sense, and they're like, why are we doing that when we could be like focusing on the really cool issues at hand? Like, he doesn't know who he is. Like, are we not going to talk about the fact that he lost all his memories? That's insane. It's depressing. But there are a lot of really interesting side characters, and I'm not going to really talk about too much because they're side characters, but they're really interesting and they help Mark Hogenkamp out a lot. Like the owner of the doll shop is great. She's a great character. But we get her for like 10 minutes of the film. And we get a lot of her at the end of the film that is in an interesting way, but I can't talk about it because it's spoilery. But if you guys seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But it really wasn't very well balanced between real world and Barbie world. It really wasn't, which is unfortunate. I think this movie could have been done a lot better. It really could have been. It could have been done worse. To its credit, it could have done worse. And it's still entertaining. Like when I was in the movie theater, I did see this in the movie theater. By the way, I forgot to mention that I did see this in the movie theater when it came out, like opening night, because I love Steve Carell. Or at least I thought I did. But I did, and I almost fell asleep at this one part because it's just so boring and nothing matters. Which never happens to me. I never fall asleep in a movie theater. And I didn't fall asleep, but I felt like I was going to, which is dangerous. Don't fall asleep in a movie theater. Don't do it. But I didn't really have that problem here when I was watching on my TV. I didn't have that kind of problem. I felt like maybe it was going to be a problem, but it wasn't. I honestly was like, okay. It didn't feel too bad. Just a weird little thing. But overall, really not very good. Let's talk about some of the acting and see if we can salvage some of the badness. Steve Carell as Mark Hodenkamp and Captain Hoagie. I think Steve Carell was a good choice. I think he did a good job. Do I think he was perfect? No, I don't. Steve Carell, I think, is maybe a little overrated in my opinion. We'll talk about that when I talk about his ranked videos. Well, my ranked video of his ranked movies. But overall, I think he was good. I don't think he was awful, but he's hard to watch sometimes. He just really is. And I don't really know why, but it's weird. Like, he's not as funny as I remember him being. In The Office, he's freaking hilarious, but he's playing these roles that are funny, but they're only funny because it's Steve Carell doing them. Like, if we had Brad Pitt playing this, I think it would have done better, because I think Brad Pitt's great, and, like, he's able to play a dramatic role that isn't supposed to be funny, right? And Steve Carell's like, oh, I'm playing a role? Where can I put some comedy? And it just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me in this film. Leslie Mann as Nicole, she was fantastic. I've seen her before. I think she was in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. And, like, she's great. I really did like her. She's a lot of fun. And I had a great time watching her. And, honestly, one of the better parts of the film. But overall, it's not a bad movie. It isn't. It isn't bad. It's not good, but it's not bad. Like, I might watch it again in the future. And, like, maybe semi-enjoy it. But it really isn't that great of a movie. This is definitely one that I would recommend you just don't watch because it's not that good. It's not bad. Again, it's not bad, but it's really not good either. It's right in the middle of like, yep, that's a movie. I'm like, that's it. I'm gonna go ahead and give Welcome to Marwen a B. I gave it a B because I do love the special effects in this film, and I do love Nicole. I think she's a great character. And Mark Hodenkamp's a cool character, just not very well done. And there's a lot of issues with writing and directing this movie that just didn't quite work for me. But that's going to do it for today. Looking forward to next week. We have Irresistible, and then we're done with Steve Carell, which is insane. We're also finishing up the Leonardo DiCaprio series on the 4th of May, so that's really, really soon. May the 4th be with you. And Lord of the Rings, technically speaking, in a couple weeks will be done, but then we're also doing the Hobbit movies, so look forward to those. And also, we're starting the Saw series. We're watching every single Saw movie starting on the 13th of May, and watching them all the way through. I don't think I'll have the opportunity to watch Spiral because it's only going to be in theaters. But I'm going to do all the Saw movies so you guys can catch up on them with me. But yeah, that's going to do it for me today. As always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.